The theories that I'm going to be talking about today are Maslow's hierarchy of needs as well as Adam's equity theory. And I'm going to start out with Maslow's hierarchy. And it was started or proposed to by a guy named Abraham Maslow. And it was the idea that motivation follows a five-tiered pyramid in human beings associated with needs and motivations. Um, in the needs at the bottom of the pyramid, the first to go up to the second needs to be fulfilled first before getting to the higher layers. Um, and the first four needs were categorized as D-list needs, and the motivation will decrease as the needs are met. For example, if you're hungry, the longer that you're going to stay hungry, the more desperate you're going to get to be fed. And once you start to, get a steady source of food, your motivation to find food starts to decrease, it starts to decrease as well. In the top tier, the just the very top tier of the pyramid was a B list need, and the motivation increases as those needs are met. Um, and they start out at the bottom as physiological needs, which is like food and water, etc. Then going on to safety needs, which is like protection from the environments. The third is love and relationship needs rather, which are things like friendship, acceptance, feeling like you fit in. Esteem needs, which is one's self esteem and reputation, are the fourth tier, and followed up by self actualization needs, which is realizing the potential that one has as a human being. Um, but all motivation in terms of different people is all personal, and a lot of times motivation is being met by multiple needs at once. So the tiers in the pyramid can be adjusted based on different kinds of people. The second theory is Adams' equity theory. It was proposed by John Stacy Adams and is described as there's a fair relationship, or there should be a fair relationship between a person's input in what they're doing, such as like a project, and whatever outputs or rewards that they're getting, as well as that in comparison to others. Um, this theory was made following the assumptions that people make contributions to things expecting returns out of it. And when they get those rewards, they'll compare it to other people to see if they got unfairly treated. So, like, if an individual feels that they put more input in than the rewards they received benefit from, their motivation towards the rest of that project is going to be lowered because they feel like they were unfairly treated. And another way motivation is lowered is if an individual feels that somebody else's rewards were a lot better than his, despite him, despite him feeling that he put in more input. And those are just two of the motivational theories that I was defining.
So on the third wave video or documentary, 10 days after the tsunami, Allison and Oscar, they have a cognitive theory of motivation. They expectation is to provide assistance. They'll just have to show up. God will provide, God willing. Whatever they need will be present, and they can provide assistance. In Allison's case, it's to be medical. She's the nurse with disaster skills. Oscar, I don't see any skills he actually brings except for he's kind of a jack of all trades. Just like he's gonna do whatever he has to do to make Allison happy, and they're both gonna go and they're gonna be successful in first 2 week initially planned trip. They're gonna make a impact on these people and help as much as they can. That was the cognitive theory of motivation. And their intrinsic motivation, they're determining the outcomes of their efforts by just showing up. And it's also an arousal theory of motivation, especially for Donnie. He was in the army, so he probably has, he needs that high of helping people. So he meets up with them, coincidentally at the airport. They meet up as a group, and they do their thing. And then God, and Donnie's words, God has a plan. They don't have a plan, but God has a plan, and they're going to do it. And his also is the cognitive motivation. And initially, and then when he gets there, when they all get there, arrive to Paramelia, it's all on an arousal theory motivation. They see what so much needs to be done, so they should attack it, and they decide that they're going to take over the school, and they're going to clean that up, and that's where we're going to be base camped, and that's where we're going to start. And that's they see that the relief effort is going right through the city of the on the road on the Gaul, and they just decide to overtake that relief effort there, and they whatever there's there, they spread it out and give it to everybody. That's their arousal theory, and then that's on the 11th or 12th day. And on, I think it's this week 1, Donnie, he decides he's going to do sanitary relief. They need some place away from the camp to, for bathroom facilities for everybody, the villagers and everybody. So he and the villagers he has the villagers dig a 4-foot deep by 4-foot wide trench. It's basically the facilities, and it's kind of sort of covered. But that's his what he brings to the table. He's an engineer, so he's thinking of things that people can do to make it better. As in on, I believe it was week 3 when they had the monsoon come in, and it was flooding everywhere. So there's rubble everywhere, but he needs rubble, and he can't seem to get it. So he and Oscar go over there, and they get a backhoe and trucks, and they bring rubble in, and to divert the water back into the ocean, or away from the camp, so it can drain, and so you don't have dengue fever and all those other waterborne illnesses. That's my point of view. I hope this meets the time requirements. Again, that's a arousal theory of motivation for the whole team, and the cognitive theory of motivation, which is very intrinsic. They just show up and it'll happen.
I'm here to talk about the the equity theory, and the 3 examples behind that in our video. First example is when Allison was handing out money to people who she think deserved it, and that in return caused angry mobs to come after her and ask her why she was handing out money to random people when they felt like they needed it more. And then another example of this is when the group was helping out the old man in the shack who was an alcoholic and looked down upon in his village, and had ants, and they put him on top of the permanent housing list because they felt like he needed the most help, which then caused the angry mobs to come back and ask them when they felt like they needed it more. All these tied together, and they all have different consequences. Angry mob caused the volunteers to act like they didn't need to be there and threaten to leave. And the 2, handing out money and helping the man in the shack, caused angry mob. So those are the 3 examples of that ethnic theory that we found in the video.
On day 1, whenever Oscar and Allison and Donnie and Bruce that all went down there, I was really hopeful, exciting. Although all the devastation has happened, it was kind of exciting to be able to see what was going to go on down there. But when they got down there, like in the beginning, all the destruction and everything like that was beyond devastating. It was horrible. It was sad. It was beyond anything that I had ever seen, anyways. In week 1, there ended up being 6 volunteers, still no toilet. Week 3, there were 10 volunteers. They did have a village translator, Camilla, so that was helpful. The village found out that they weren't from the organization after the week 3. Building rapport with the kids to build rapport with the adults was probably one of the awesome things that I did see in there. The fact that they were trying to make the kids happy, bringing them to the beach in week 4, week 3, week 4, so that they would not be scared was really pretty cool. In week 4, they were searching for more victims, so the devastation was not done. In week 6 was February, and the monsoons came, the rain and the flooding came. They were all worried about the disease. The man that lost the 3 kids and the 11 relatives, it was just sad. It was so sad to see the devastation that it had caused and that people were completely taken away. They were trying to do the normalcy for the kids, building the school. The kids' drawings were really cool. Volunteers missing family, yet still wanted to help. Week 11 was March. It was 106 degrees, flies everywhere, villagers getting frustrated because they see others getting help. Realization that they had actually lost everything, and they were getting upset because they were trying to do some temporary housing, and they were sad because, or not sad, but getting frustrated that people were getting help that weren't who they thought should be getting the help, which was sad and frustrating for everybody, especially for the the volunteers that they just wanted to help. Week 15, April, Allison gave money to the poorest family so the kids could come back to school, and that's whenever everything kind of went crazy, the jealousy and the anger from the villagers, making the volunteers want to leave because they weren't being appreciated. Week 17, May, Donnie does return. Week 19, still so much is still needing done. The bottom line I thought was really cool, as at the end of it, they were honoring Allison, Oscar, Bruce, and Donnie when they were leaving. Allison as Nightingale, Oscar the visionary, Bruce the master, and Donnie the shepherd. I just thought that was really amazing, and it just showed them what they really could do. Alice and Oscar did return later and stayed 12 months. And I think that it's just a realization that everyone is needed. Everyone is needed.
Emotions were always really powerful throughout the entire documentary. We felt it as an audience, but the people involved in the documentary felt it even more, obviously. When looking at the volunteers, when they showed up originally, they were shocked and frustrated about everything around them. There was very little help for these people. They were frustrated about that. There was not a lot of resources. They were frustrated about that. But their passion, frustration, and anger motivated them to try to help these people even more. They put everything they had ahead of themselves for the survivors, and they were motivated by these passions, frustrations, angers to do so. When looking at the emotions of the survivors, especially in the beginning, they were absolutely devastated by the tsunami. They lost everything. You see a huge lack of motivation. They were lethargic, clearly depressed, and just defeated in general. They didn't really see a way to put anything back together, and this is where the volunteers really came in to help. In week 4, Allison was collecting the remaining of the bodies, and this older woman came up to her asking her if she's seen any of her grandkids or any members at all of her family, and she said she is not, and that they were in a better place now. The woman obviously breaks down crying. She's depressed, she's defeated, and she doesn't feel like there's any reason to keep on going. This is a negative motivator. People are motivated not to do anything because they feel there's nothing they can do because everything is just collapsed in on itself. The kids were a big center of emotion as well, as little kids are. Dawn especially tried to make them happy. In week 3, Dawn tries to get morale up by playing with the kids. He said when they're smiling, everyone else is smiling, and we totally see this in the documentary. He plays with them, he gets them involved, because the adults lost something, but the kids lost everything. This is all they had in their whole life. And getting them back in patterns and playing with them and just making them smile was a really positive motivator for the volunteers, and especially the survivors, because they now had a reason to rebuild everything, and they were motivated in a positive direction because of what Dawn did with the kids.